tie this in. So some people, I'm sure anyone watching this at one point, you've watched some YouTuber in your life and you said, man, how does that person have it to be standing around? You've thought about how a person had it before, like maybe you've been in trouble and you'd be like, damn man, they have it good, man, to just be like walking out like in liberty, enjoying life, having fun, man. My ass is up under a rain cloud right now. You might have thought that, or you might have thought like, man, they got a lot of time. Like, how do you have time to like to sit around and run your mouth like that and actually get like favored and like and views from it and maybe even get paid off of that? How do you have time to do something like that? But then like other people are wise to that, like, yeah, man, his ass is in a car, man. He ain't got it like that, man. That fool pulled over somewhere, pausing his this and that to run his mouth like that. That's my case too. So I can't act like I got it like that, where I can just be running my mouth. But sometimes I have an idea, and I think it's still worthwhile to make value as you have an idea for something, and that might actually be there. Like after we get played out of all the different stuff we earned the right way, maybe whatever value we uploaded and offered will be there somehow after we get out of jobs and out of doors and out of cars and out of food and whatnot. We actually amounted to some kind of value. So that's the spirit I'm offering this with. But to that point, that's what actually this series has been about, is that I think that I want to talk a little bit. I don't have the same inspiration that I've done this many videos in the series that I'm getting to that point. But what I want to say is that sometimes I think that, so you hear different things, right? Like a lot of times you probably heard your whole life about how this person or thing is so great, beyond great, greater than great, yet doesn't have an ego, yet humble, greater than great, yet humble, the best thing, the most outstanding thing. Nothing is nothing without this thing that we've never seen before. And we actually like this thing and love this thing and worship this thing more than the people we can see with our eyes. We see a person starving, dying, trying to do what's right. Fuck that person. That person thinks this and that. Fuck that person. That person isn't a human being. Fuck that person. Yeah, that person might hold down a job, but fuck that person, man. Fuck that person. But I yet worship this thing that's invisible. I've never seen this thing, but I love this thing. I'll give anything for this thing. I'll die for this thing. But fuck that person right there. I can see that person. Fuck that son of a. So that's how we're coming with a lot of stuff. But this great thing, this invisible thing that we worship and venerate, a lot of things have been ascribed to it. A lot of it's been said. A lot of promises have been made on behalf of that thing. Now, if you've received a promise from that thing directly that you feel a way about, I stand down, because I'm not saying that's not real. And I also, one time I was up on hard times and I didn't know what to do, so I went to like a service like on Wednesday night, and it had been a woman who was she had certain gifts like intellectually, so she actually went through engineering school with a drug habit, got licensed as an engineer, succeeded as an engineer supporting a drug habit. But according to Mickey Royal, author, is that when you do things like drugs, like you can maybe say sex, drugs, and rock and roll, when you do that, you're actually having fun letting go. You're losing control. It's not fun. The reason it's fun is because you're losing control. That's what's fun about it. The experience of losing control is fun, yet it's gonna amount to rock bottom. That's actually it's actually guaranteed. Like when you do certain things, some things, by doing them, the outcome is part of doing them. It's actually guaranteed in just doing something. So that's why you get off into some crazy stuff and you actually just F yourself over as soon as you began to do something. But and so like sex, drugs, and rock and roll is actually like that. But as fun as it is, as enjoyable it is, if we can inspire people and influence people, and maybe some people replicate us, whether we have people walking around that look like us or walking around that act like us, it still had been sex, drugs, and rock and roll, and we're gonna be on rock bottom at some point in interfacing with life like that. I got a little bit off my train of thought, but that person, she was saying she went through school like that and she operated like that, supporting a habit, but somehow or other, I can't remember what part of her story actually got her to rock bottom. But what she was saying is that actually whatever we have going for us in this life is actually a promise that was made to us before this life. Whether you think of that in terms of your ancestors and what they had to do for you to be born in a certain geographical position with whatever privileges, protections, and blessings would be a function of your being born in a vicinity and with proximity to your friends, family, and loved ones, and just a community that affected your upbringing and your opportunities. It can be appreciated that a lot of that came into being and was conceived and conspired before you actually appeared in the flesh. And so it was a promise to you from before this life, from that standpoint. And so the promises from beyond what we actually can't see with our naked eye, generally speaking, is real. But But for all these promises, that'd be a lot of promises, like because you get like prosperity preaching and stuff like that. So you just promise that person an exotic car, a home, a relationship, all that on behalf of something that really is beautiful and true. But you made that promise on behalf of that for that person, and so can you actually will that promise be honored? So what I want to say is that it's similar actually within like transacting different dealings as a person of a different with different backgrounds and standing and appearance, is that you may contract something, you may tender finance for something, value as you understand it, but you're not necessarily getting anything that you think you paid for, not necessarily. But I want to say is that's because a lot of the promises that, so everyone is promising everything. The greatest of great, I haven't heard a promise from that, but I've felt things that would feel intended for me. I'm not saying that there's no such thing as a promise or a promise being fulfilled, but a lot of life is nothing but promise. So you weren't even thinking about going back to school, right? You weren't even thinking about college. Here go this opportunity for college. Hey, here's a great opportunity. Come study with us, and we also got financial aid if you need it. So before 10 minutes ago, you didn't even need to know that you needed an education right now, or as we're presenting it. But we're letting you know that just in case you needed it, because it's cool. Here it is. And if you also need some financial aid to go with that, some loans to go with that, we got that for you too. But those are actually called promissory notes. So everyone is promising everything, and you even go to buy something and they're promising you something. They're promising you training. They're promising you. I found that no training that you pay for is worth jack shit. I found that if you had to pay for training, that it isn't worth shit. But if you found an opportunity that trains you, that's some real training. That's good to go. That's solid. I got that for like my CDL. I had tried to pay for different driving training, different stuff, and I got fucked over appropriately each time for having the nerve to try to pay for training. But the times when it was offered as like an opportunity based on like whatever standing or credit or viability I would have to fill out an application and land that job, that's what I actually paid. I paid with the stature of being an adult with the standing to apply for something, and then I got trained based on that. But a lot of people are promising different things and they're not giving anything, and that's because even what they might have to give someone might represent surplus but not value. So different companies, yeah, they're a listed company, they're above board, this and that, they got a fleet of this, they got a showroom of this, they got this and that. A lot of that surplus, and they had maybe effed over other people in inequitable ways to land upon that surplus. But that's not actually the real value they're having, because if you had to steal something, the value is not entirely reciprocal or congruent with you. The value is not. The surplus might be, but the value is not with you. So a lot of people, they're doing business dealings based on surplus that came about from inequity, but they actually don't have the value to back that. So if you're trying to procure something that is valuable, you're offering something of value, but you're also trying to gain something of value that will serve you. You're not necessarily getting that. You might get surplus, you might get BS. You can get BS, you can get surplus, but value, you get value seldom, few in between in this life, and that actually is hard enough to come by. That it would have to come from something beyond this life if you have value that you're working with. So if you have something valuable, you might want to give thanks for that, whether you have a person or people or things or an opportunity or an understanding that really does serve you and potentially other people, because the value would be in serving other people, the satisfaction would be in serving other people. That amounts to something. But a lot of people are doing all kinds of dealings and double dealings and promises and this and that based on deception and surplus, but it hadn't been value. And when it comes down to the nuts and bolts, you're going to find that out when it comes down to the value. What is the value on the table that we're discussing? And see how someone talks to you like that. That's all I meant to say with this whole series. And also is that some of that, we're not getting the respect that we need to do different dealings as value is concerned, unless we appreciate it as being backed up by something, supported by something. So that's what I was talking about, like the human families, is that's our actually standing right and in sovereignty as human beings, is the allegiance and the inheritance as members of the human family according to Tashri Bey. And then you might have that like in a street sense where like you see someone that you know is part of that is affiliated with something, and you think twice about how you deal with them, howsoever great or small they are in stature, just because they're connected to something. You think differently about dealing with them, and they might actually get different outcomes when business is on the table. Is how are you? What is your real allegiance? It's going to come into play doing business with different things. So it's harder to be a Rolling Stone than I mean Rolling Stone like being independent. It's harder to be an independent badass runaway jackass like I'm trying to be than it would seem.